Hi there, this is Zelon88 from GitHub, and this video is a brief walkthrough and tutorial on how to use HRCloud2. Uh, it really is just to highlight some of the things that it can do and some of the things that you would use it for, and some of the quirks that it has as well. So we logged in, and this is an administrator account, so if we go to an HRCloud2 directory, we'll hit the indexer, which will take us to the correct index based on the screen width, basically. And right now, this is the only GUI that we have. I'm not really that good with front-end development, and I'm not really that good with JavaScript. And this is basically the extent of my user interface skill level. More of a logical back-end kind of guy, and I'm really kind of waiting for somebody who's really good with front-end to come along and fix this. But you know, the API is there, so if you are a developer and you want to try and do better, I invite you to do so. So just going through the basics, HRCloud2 will start you off with this cloud screen, and everybody gets one of these, and everybody's cloud storage is segregated. So when you're looking at your logs, or when you're looking at your settings or your drive, you're only looking at your logs and your settings in your drive. Apps are a little bit different because it's a server-side application, so the server contains the apps, and those are kind of managed by administrators, and there are apps that are catered to administrators and only they get to see them and only they get to use them, and then there are apps that are catered towards everybody. Notes, let's see, Grabber, not Executor, I'm sorry, Calculator, Contacts, those are all user, everybody sees those. Executor, Serve Monitor, PHP AV, things that might not be appropriate or might bog down the server, only allow administrators to use them. So we can install apps up here with this button, and basically an app is a zip format. I believe there was a version of this, I don't know if it's the production version, but that could unzip anything, and it was kind of hit or miss, so really focus on zip files. And basically, let's see if we can find an app. We could even make one really quick. Let's make one out of our applications here. Let's make a Grabber app. And we'll uninstall the Grabber app that we have, and then we'll install our new Grabber app, just to kind of give you an overview of how this works. Grabber.zip. I think we're actually going to have to change the permissions here. You know what? I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back, and I basically just took an app, the Grabber app, right here, and I zipped it up so that I made a little install package out of it so that I can demonstrate how to install these. And then you have buttons here that are to launch the app, give you information about the app, and also to delete the app. And when you start off, you're going to have a bunch of apps that come with HRCloud2, and you can add more by simply clicking on the plus up here if you're an administrator. And then you click Browse, and then you find your app that you want to install. Ours is on our desktop. Grabber.zip. We're going to open it up. We're going to click Install. And uploaded, de-archived, installed, cleaning up. And if we go down here, we should have our Grabber back, which it's right here. So now if you want to launch an app, you just click on this button here, and you'll get a window. Different browsers, I've noticed lately, since I've updated, I've been getting the full screen. I think I got to tweak something or I messed something up, but it's supposed to only give you a certain fixed window size, and different browsers might give you a different window size, but this is the window size that it's supposed to be. And if you want to open it in the iframer in a regular window, you can just click on this or click on the app icon, and it will load you up. And you know, obviously each app does different things. You know, we can make notes and save them, and we can resize stuff. Basically, apps are apps on any platform. You can make them, you can download them. If you can convert something, just a regular PHP or JavaScript app, you can make your own. And this is going to wind up being the bread and butter of a lot of what you do I think. We're adding apps all the time. It's kind of just me developing this, so it's slow progress. I'm kind of working on this right now, getting a little bit burnt out on it. Might have to copy pasta some code from somebody, but either way, apps done. Drive. Okay, this is what everybody really wants out of a cloud platform, and as you can see, what we do is we try to give the user the ability to modify multiple files at once, and the checkbox does that. So when you check the checkbox, you're selecting these 3 files to modify, and we have a few operations up here. So these are your operations. We have copy, rename, delete, archive, de-archive, convert, image and photo editing tools, OCR tools, optical character recognition, so turning an image of a receipt or a piece of paper into a document that you can actually open with Notepad and mess around with. We have create playlist, which it basically creates a proprietary .playlist file out of media formats, tries to extract the ID3 tags, and then formats them in a way that HRCloud2 will display them to you in a more friendly fashion than this format here where we're seeing a table of files. It will kind of show you, give you options. It's not the best thing. It actually doesn't even play one file when another file is done. So that's kind of shows you the limitations of it. But we're still working on it. It's getting better all the time. Share. This is a cool feature. So you can share your files, make them permanent. I say permanently, but until you delete them, available so that anybody can download them. It kind of gives them a fixed URL. Copy paste. This is still experimental. It works between certain directory structures but not others, so you can kind of go from the root cloud to a subdirectory in the same cloud. You cannot go from a subdirectory back to the root, and that's just a bug that I've yet to find. And then you have search, and it's kind of a pretty powerful tool if you're looking for a specific file. It's not case sensitive, it's fast, it's kind of the bee's knees. So all of these things are your operations, and if you want to add a new file or a new folder, just click on the plus and it will give you options to do that. And we're going to roll through all of these. I'm going to take a little break, but I'll come back and we'll roll through these one at a time. Okay, so we're back and we're going to roll through these one at a time. So this is rename. That's pretty self-explanatory, but you basically give it a name. And you can enter a cloud folder, so if you have a folder named tester, you can put the folder before the name, and it will rename, it will, take this file that we selected out of this directory and put it into our tester. We're going to not do it into a folder, because I don't know if that folder exists. We're just going to do rename test. Oh wait, no, that's copy. I'm sorry. Either way, you kind of get the picture. And then rename works in the same way. Delete, pretty self-explanatory. You get the options and the arguments, I guess you could call them, for the operation appear underneath the operation. And it can get kind of confusing, again, because I'm terrible with JavaScript when you have two open at the same time, because as you can see they sort of stack on top of each other, and I haven't come up with a clever way without adding like 50 lines of code to remove all of this when you click on one, because it's kind of not easy for someone who's not good with JavaScript. So archiving, pretty self-explanatory as well. You just take files. You could take, let's take these 3 files and we'll make it into a RAR. I hope this works, because and it might take a little while. This is an extremely slow 32-bit dual-core computer laptop, but it's got a good battery and it runs Linux really fast, so it does the trick. and let's see if our file exists. It does. And let's see if it contains the data that we want it to contain. And it does. So I think the only time you might really run into problems in this version that I'm running now might be this. I've been thinking about removing the BZ2. I've tried GZ and BZ2 and it's kind of hit or miss, so your best bet is to just use a 7-zip format if you're going in that direction. You could do a regular tar ball. If your device has the ability to read a BZ2, chances are you can read a tar ball. So an unzip kind of works in the same way. You basically just select a zip file, and it can be pretty much any of the formats that it's capable of compressing. It's capable of decompressing those as well. So you would just click on unzip, and it's just a one-click thing. As soon as you unclick, it's going to extract this archive into the folder that you're working in. And that took a considerable amount of time to get it to do that, I might add. And if it doesn't work, then I'm sorry. But it did it one time, last time I checked. We're not going to get into it now because this program is just way too big. Oh, Jesus, what happened? Okay, and that is how a commit is born, I suppose. That's one way. So it turns out that we were deleting our files before our browser could actually download them. So change that. So now we should be all set. Yep, and that is actually born in this video, version 0.9.9.9.9. And I swear to God, the next release is going to be 1.0.0.0. And the reason why I had to do this is because it just was getting so close to 1.0, and I just wanted to have a stable product by 1.0. Stable and relatively complete. So we're now, I think, there. I hope, if we can finish this video. Anyway, and now, so that was de-archiving. It basically creates a folder with the same name as the archive, and then dumps all your files in there. Now let's convert files. That's always fun. The trick with conversion is it uses a lot of different dependencies to do this. And you'll notice the images are actually missing. And they're not actually missing, they're just over here. And we'll get to that next. But it uses a lot of different dependencies to convert all these different formats. So, for example, just to convert the archives, we don't just use 7-zip to do everything, because I found out that certain devices won't unrar with some 7-zip RAR files under some circumstances. So I use zip and unzip, RAR and unrar, and then I use I think these just use 7-zip actually. The last three just use 7-zip. Spreadsheets. This is a combination of Uniconv and LibreOffice to do most of this stuff. And then this is FFmpeg for audio formats. And because of all these different dependencies, if parts of convert might work or might not work depending on your level of dependencies. So keep that in mind when you're doing system updates on your server. And if for some reason you can't convert audio files but you can convert image files, it's not HRCloud2 that necessarily may be broken. It may be your dependencies. And in the case of Uniconv, it's actually kind of tricky because you have to have either a daemon running to start Uniconv whenever you turn your server on, or you have to actually tell it to listen to get the documents to work. The easiest way is to just do a daemon, just be done with it. I'm just lazy. Okay, so now let's try and convert something else. We can see if we can convert this. No, wait. That contains PHP files. So we don't want to do that. It's the one we just made. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Let's do a zip file. See if we can do this. So far, so good. Looks like so far that we can. Let's just make sure that it contains what it needs to contain. Well, it was in there somewhere. That's very interesting. I thought that I had an argument set to not, to junk the paths, but I guess I don't. Anyway, it did it. It did the job. It's a little bit complicated, but let's try something else. Let's see what file this is. Oops, there we go. Okay, so this is a scan of a receipt that I did in a previous video. It's a Swiss receipt. And I scanned it with my OCR tool. And I know this looks like junk, but it's actually good data. It was actually extremely accurate. This is exactly what the receipt contained. So we're going to take that, if I can find it again, I think it was this, and we will try converting that to text so that we can read it here. And that works. Perfect. So as you can see, that's how that works. Now you can do video, pictures too. I don't know if I have any good pictures on here that are worth trying it on. Yeah, see, it doesn't treat transparency very well. We're still working on that transparency, so hope that's not really poop. Okay, so this is a good one. Let's do this one. So that's pooped up ping. So we're gonna do image and pooped up ping. Let's try and rotate it 90, and we'll make it a bitmap. We'll make it 640 by 480. So this is gonna look terrible, and it's gonna be sideways, and it's gonna be a bitmap. Get here and go. We get a bitmap, and it's sideways and it's huge. So that's how that works. OCR. Okay. Now, let's see if we get any pictures in here. Receipt Swiss. So this is actually the receipt that we made those other things from. When you do OCR, it's you take a picture, or you take a PDF, or you take something of that nature. You gotta try and make the image as straight as possible. And you can either select automatic, simple, or advanced. And I would recommend starting off with automatic. And we're going to name this one auto. And then we're going to select a format. Let's do a text. And it will try to do simple, and then it should default to auto, to advanced, but it's kind of hit or miss. And this one I'm going to give it some credit because it wasn't an easy thing. I tried a lot of different methods to get this to work. I tried Python, and ultimately I just settled on invoking like Tesseract and I think PDF to text, which is included maybe, I don't know, with PHP to get the results that I wanted. So let's try using the simple method, and we'll call this simple.text. And the simple method returned a good file. Now let's try the advanced method on the same file. Receipt Swiss, where are you? There you are. Okay. Now we're gonna try advanced, and we'll call this one advanced. That's interesting. So it appears that both advanced and simple methods will do the trick, but the automatic method is actually broken, the automatic method is only supposed to invoke one or the other methods, depending on if it's working. You know, it looks at, I believe, how much intermediate work it has to do to the document, because if you just need to do, if the output is a text document, I believe it just uses PDF to text, but if the output is or the input, depending on the formats, it will use a different dependency. So that's how that works. Now, playlists. Basically, just pick up files. It will try and pull out the ID3 tags, stuff of that nature. Let's see if we can add a new file. And as you can see, it managed to do a file with an extremely complicated name, but if you try to bulk multiple names with a huge complicated names, bulk them, it has trouble with multiples. You can usually do 2 at least, but 3, 4, sometimes a little bit hit or miss. So let's take this, and let's take this. It's probably even the same file for all I know. And let's make a playlist. We'll call it 2300, because that's practically what time it is. And it's going to convert the audio files to OGG, because that pretty much streams in any browser. And it's going to extract the ID3 tags. It's going to create a cache file. It's going to create a folder. It's going to dump all this stuff in there. It's going to try and extract album art, and then it's going to basically, HRCloud2 has a little hook in it to look for a file with a .playlist format, which is, in reality, it's just a folder named 2300.playlist full of these files. But HRCloud2 sees it as a file because of the extension, and it invokes this, which is the HR streamer, and you get the file name at the top, and you've got your more info, and the things are broken, and then you do this, and it's kind of simple and kind of bulky and kind of quirky, but kind of broken. We'll get there someday. Anyway, shared. So take your file. Let's view our shared files first. Make sure there's not one in there. So yeah, they're already in there. But basically, you just select a file, share it, and then it will show up in here. And then you can right-click on it and do copy link location, and you can paste that anywhere and go. And that's how that works. So that's that. And then clipboard, kind of hit or miss, so I'm just going to skip that. It's still experimental, and we'll do test. And it will show us all of our stuff. Swiss. And that's how that works. Pretty straightforward. So now, when we go to settings, this is going to look different based on who you are. If you're an administrator, you're going to have this section down at the bottom. If you're not an administrator, your page is going to end right about here. Now, anybody can change their color scheme, and anybody can disable their HRCloud. HRCloud will still be enabled on your main home screen in this particular GUI, But on all the other pages, like on this page, this whole section up here will just disappear and give you more space for other things. We'll make it more friendly for smaller screens. The drive will actually widen up. App index will open up and get taller. You can also clear user cache in the off chance that it gets corrupt or missing or messed up, or that's never really happened. That's one of the things that I really tried to make robust and reliable, and then it is. So, but you know, sometimes you just want to do it. It makes people feel better. It does get long. The way the cache files work is it just basically uses PHP append to add an extra variable to a PHP file every time you do this. So if you theoretically just had this account for 10 years and you never cleared the cache, an administrator went and looked, your cache file could potentially be absolutely huge. And every time you go to a certain page, it's going to be including this huge file when it really only needs the last like 5 or 6 lines. So it's not a bad idea to come here and clear user cache. And as you can see, once you do that, it's going to return everything to not to the defaults in the config file, but to the defaults the administrator has set for you, or has set for the server with his settings. Now, administrators are going to have the option to update their server, which they can do here. And then the manual update is basically the same thing as automatic update. So when you click on automatic update, it's going to download, install, clean, and then check the compatibility of your server. And what this does is connects to GitHub, downloads the latest version, unzips it, preserves your configuration data, preserves all the files that it needs, backs up the old files, and then installs everything. This cleans up all the unnecessary stuff, removes all the update packages and intermediate files that were created. This looks for, so it's a pretty lively project. So when you if we remove a file from the repo and you update your server without some sort of function to remove files that were removed from the repo, these files could remain on your server and produce security concerns. This will basically just run through a script to clean up any unnecessary files or any files that may have been removed from previous versions or that sort of nature. And also does checks the compatibility of your server. It also returns the version that is currently running and checks the version. Make sure that the version in the compatibility core matches the version in version info. So there's that. And then virus scanning, pretty straightforward. It's either enabled or disabled. Now when it's enabled, certain updates, certain things like uploading and certain operations will be interrupted with a virus scan of the cloud, of the user's cloud drive, to make sure that they're not manipulating infected data or infected files or anything of that nature. It will update, it will connect to ClamAV to update the virus definitions, and it does have a massive impact on server performance. So if you've got a slow server like I do, you're going to want to leave this disabled. But it does work. It works pretty good. Now it creates its own log file for viruses, so it needs to, because it looks for the file size to change. So it invokes ClamAV, and then it sets a log file for ClamAV to use, and then it just monitors the log file for the size to change. And if the size changes, then that means that ClamAV found something and it output it to the log file. And that's how we detect viruses. So I leave that disabled. A good idea, even if you leave it disabled all the time, you can come here anytime if ClamAV is installed and click Scan Cloud, and that will basically just scan the entire HRCloud2 directory, all of the user files, and the permanent user folder with ClamAV. Save changes, load defaults, clear changes. So pretty straightforward. Clear changes, basically, if you've changed this and you change this, but you can't, this was a mistake and you can't really remember, you just hit clear changes. It just puts everything back to the way it was when you got here. Load defaults, pretty straightforward. Loads everything back to defaults. And that's it. Now, logs, pretty straightforward. These won't show up on yours. These are because I have a development version and I was just basically swinging a broken bottle everywhere one day with file put contents, and these things somehow got dropped in here. So ignore these. But we do have log files that do get generated. This is going to be what your version generates on a daily basis. It will generate an HRCloud2 file, a HRI session ID, and it may also generate virus logs if your viruses are enabled. And this is basically just a sample, and it's a lot of data in here. So that's what that is. Logs pretty much everything that it does, and does not give you an option to delete them. It also does not give you an option to view other people's logs. It also, but it does store them. So I mean, you know, if you want to make your own little hash tool to hash out your, or just put an output here as an administrator, and modify your HRCloud2 installation to somehow, you know, do that, you can. But I'm not going to do that. So help. Pretty straightforward. All of these practically, except for this one, link to GitHub. So by clicking on these, you'll be taken to GitHub. And there's an official wiki for HRCloud2, if you didn't know. And these are actually pretty relevant. It took a lot of time to make. So if you want to check them out and give me feedback on them, positive, negative, or indifferent, I appreciate all kinds of input. So, pretty cool. And we forgot the best part. This thing. So he's pretty busy because he knows that he's very busy. The load balancing is currently disabled because I used to have it enabled, and I used to have a more solid version. This is kind of an experimental version in HRI that I used when I had my own servers, but basically HRI is like my guilty pleasure. I've been playing with it for years, and it's just kind of something that evolved into what it is. And yeah, so I mean, she does some cool tricks. That's pretty much it. It's kind of like a personal assistant type thing. You can open it in a new window by clicking on the double plus. You can shrink it, you can make it big, you can hide it all together, bring it back. She can convert files, that kind of thing. Trying to think of what else she can do. Oh, wait, wrong box. Good afternoon. So, it's nighttime right now, so it's kind of tricky. She's kind of in a zone where she doesn't, you know, haven't quite figured out the times yet for when she should say good morning, good afternoon, good night. Still kind of, it's just a cool program, and I encourage you to view the source code of it, play around with it, and make it better, because that's what this is, open source is about. Yeah, so that's that, and that's pretty much the entire application. It's about 48,000 lines of logic and user interface code, and then a couple thousand lines of comments and white space and all that other stuff. It's got jQuery in there. I think I got actually 2 versions of jQuery. Self-hosted, so it's not going to a CDN somewhere. It's not looking for third-party servers just to do basic things. You know, everything that you need is included, and It doesn't look for Google. It doesn't use any APIs for third-party things to do any conversions. Everything is happening on your machine, and it never leaves your machine. And that is why I did this, because I am skeptical. Whenever somebody's giving you a service for free, you're the product, and this is kind of like a defense for that. And also, if something were to ever happen, like a major cyber war, I believe that everything would become compromised, and the only thing that you could really truly trust is, the data that you can put your own hands on, and that you say, I own this. So this is kind of empowers people to take control of their data and their privacy, and I like it. So thank you for your time, and if you follow the project, that's cool. Feel free to create an issue, or send me a pull request. I have never really had one, so I've had one actually in a different repo, but really want to get into the social coding. I think it's awesome. I love GitHub. So I'm gonna go, and thank you.